this was in the paper a couple of weeks ago, and they say Scrabble is good for the brain. And the reason why I put this in is because my mother played Scrabble every Wednesday night at the Scrabble Club in Côte St. Luc, and she'd been doing it for many, many years. And at one point, she was ranked 16th in Canada. Yeah. And the world champion of Scrabble, many times over, comes actually from Montreal. Joel Wapnick, I think, won it last year. And there's a lot of people that play Scrabble in Montreal. But it actually is good for your health. And so the question is this. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. But what about the brain? What can we do to keep our brains active? The brain is like a black box. We know what goes in, we see what comes out, but we have very little idea about what's going on inside. And so how can we keep the brain healthy is always a good question. We all want to be Albert Einstein, and we try to avoid being Homer Simpson. But what's the answer in between? There's a lot of studies on brains, and they can do scans, they can do imaging, but we still have very little idea of what's going to keep our brains healthy. We want to stay sharp, always a very, very important thing. But there are things that can get in our way, that act as roadblocks. There are many diseases and conditions that can affect our cognition and our ability to make good judgments and good skills. I would actually probably venture to guess that being here today is one of the things that you're doing to keep your brains active, and it's probably good. Staying active, going out, talking to people, contact has actually been shown to stimulate your brain and keep your mind sharp. Physical activity can keep your brain sharp. So exercise, not only does it exercise your body, but it also exercises your brain. Mental exercises. Could be Scrabble, could be crossword puzzles, could be Sudoku, bridge. I've actually heard of studies where they look at bridge players, and they say that people who play bridge have better abilities overall than people that don't. Community groups, staying active, not isolating yourselves, very, very important. There are pills that are designed to help keep us sharp when our memory starts failing. But for those things, you generally have to talk to your doctor. And for those of you who don't know, that's Doogie Howser. I'm much older than he is, or was in that picture. And these are some of the medications that people sometimes will use. The one thing I would like to mention, though, is if you notice that something's going wrong, that's a time where you want to seek help. And while sometimes your doctor can give you things that might help your memory or might help your mind, sometimes we can't fix it. And sometimes the idea is to surround yourself with assistance so that way people stay as good as they can for as long as they can. So when you go to your doctor and you interrogate him with your news articles of the day, just remember that it doesn't matter if you're Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, you're reading the newspaper, or you get your information from Google. You should be as skeptical of them as you would of your doctor. And I tell people, don't believe anybody, push everybody to show you what they know. Because it's important, because you're the one that's going to be taking the treatments or taking the medications or doing the testing. Find out if it's right for you. And then you get to lie down and get your own house moment and figure out what the right answer is, even if you have to read the newspaper. Any questions? Yes?
The last couple of weeks, vitamin K came up.
Vitamin K? Okay.
Yes.
Vitamin K is used in clotting factors, not something that we typically supplement. Typically, the only time I ever give vitamin K to people is when they're bleeding because of too much Coumadin. So, Coumadin, blood thinner. That's the only time. It's not something that I've seen being used regularly.
Exactly what it was.
Not that I know.
How effective is Aricept?
How effective is Aricept? It depends is the best answer I can give you. Aricept has its studies that show that it decreases the rate of decline of dementia. Some people notice that they get a little bit of a bump. They do a little bit better early on, some people. But people still usually get worse over time with dementia despite the Aricept. So cholesterol we understand a little bit. We don't understand everything. But there's good cholesterol and bad cholesterol that we get on our reports. The problem is lowering your cholesterol from a bad number to a good number doesn't lower your risk of having a heart attack from a high number to 0. In people who haven't had a heart attack, if they go on a cholesterol pill, they lower their risk by about 25% at best. So if your risk before you took the pill was 20%, you actually lower your risk only to 16. Now that's real, because 4 people out of 100 not having a heart attack is very, very valuable. But 16 people still are going to have that heart attack. And so we don't understand everything with cholesterol yet. But in practicality, even if you can say that you have to be measuring the smaller particles or the bigger particles, can you actually test it reliably, and can you do anything about the answer anyway? And so my general rule is you don't do a test that's not going to change your management. So if I found out that you had high amounts of small particles, but I couldn't do anything about it, what's the point? Testing.
Well, if you're on medication.
But we don't know that the medication would do it. Anybody else have a question? Good. Yes?
Yes. I have reaction to any statin medication.
Yeah.
I read something that they're coming up with some medication with injection.
There have been a whole bunch of drugs coming out over the past couple of years about cholesterol to lower the cholesterol in different ways. The last one that I'd heard about was actually withdrawn after, during one of their trials, they found that even though it lowered their bad cholesterol but raised their good cholesterol, more people died. There's a lot of drugs in the pipeline. I mean, there's a lot of things that these drug companies are trying to develop to combat different ways. But until they actually make it out into the market, generally the rule is wait. I mean, I know that I'm young. I've been a family doctor now for 7 years, and I've already lived through 2 recalls and a whole bunch of scares. And when I first graduated, I was the first one to jump on the bandwagon with a new drug. I used to think, wow, this thing is the best thing since sliced bread. And then that drug gets recalled. And then you look like a complete and utter fool to your patients. And at the time, I was probably using the best science I had at the time. But what I've learned is do what you have to do now. And sometimes the newest drug is not the right choice, and it's up to you to weigh the risks and benefits with whatever knowledge you have. But a lot of these medications come to market with big, big numbers of trials. And so once these things that make it through, if there's that many people that have been taking it for a while, it's generally probably not disastrously unsafe, but you never know what's going to happen 10 years down the line. And so this is where you're always weighing the risks and benefits for you individually. Yes?
The pharmaceutical companies, you heard that sometimes they suppress the data that's negative because they're so anxious to get the
Of course.
product onto the market.
I'm a cynic of the drug companies, absolutely. But I'm a cynic of not taking drugs also. Nothing is without risk. And yeah, the drug companies probably hide negative results so that way they can increase the marketing of their drugs. But at the same time, they're actually in the business to make people better. And so I don't think they're innocent, but I actually think they have good intentions starting off. And a lot of the researchers, they're not out to harm people. They're out to actually find treatments and cures and delaying things from happening. I think it's everybody's responsibility to weigh their individual risks and benefits with an ounce of skepticism. I have people that come in and say, I went to my herbalist and he gave me this pill to cure this ailment, but I won't take your vaccine for the flu shot. And I say, I can show you a lot of studies that show that it's good. Where'd you study for this herbal remedy? Oh, I don't, but I had a friend who took it and he got better. And it really boils down to where we get our evidence from and how critically we are appraised. People really try to make informed decisions, and many drugs are actually blocked from getting to market because they're fishy. The ones that make it generally have good basis, but we're always reevaluating. Look at Vioxx. I mean, these are things. It worked for a lot of people, but for a small minority, it probably was the wrong choice.
How can, I know the benefits of vitamins, but these large doses, how can they hurt you?
Some of them can be toxic. So at some doses, you absolutely can get side effects from various different vitamins. Vitamin A especially. Vitamin A in high doses can be bad. E2. It's A, D, E, K are fat soluble, and A and E absolutely can cause you problems. K, theoretically, if you took way too much, I guess might increase your clotting. Perhaps, I'm not sure. But D hasn't actually been shown, they haven't been able to find those dangerous doses. But they don't really want to test those. Like, I mean, I don't know if they want to pump people full of vitamins to do it.
I just want to say thanks a lot, Mark. That was a fantastic inaugural lecture.
Thank you.